Good day everyone, we are Group 3 and we will be discussing the Republic Act number 9136, an act ordaining reforms in the electric power industry, amending for the purpose certain laws and for other purposes. Under Section 1, short title, this act shall be known as the Electric Power Industry Reform Act of 2001. It shall hereinafter be referred to as the Act. This section simply states the official title of the Act. The title reflects the Act's purposes of implementing reforms in the electric power sector in the Philippines. Declaration of Policy under Section 2. It is hereby declared the policy of the state. A. To ensure and accelerate the total electrification of the country. Its objective is to achieve universal access to electricity across the country. This goal focuses on ensuring that every household and business has access to electrical power, which is essential for modern living and economic development. It aims to eliminate energy poverty and improve the quality of life. B. To ensure the quality, reliability, security, and affordability of the supply of electronic power. Its objective is to provide a stable and dependable electricity supply at reasonable prices. This involves maintaining high standards for power delivery, ensuring that outages are minimal, and that the electricity provided is affordable for consumers. C. To ensure transparent and reasonable prices of electricity in a regime of free and fair competition and full public accountability to achieve greater operation and economic efficiency, and enhance the competitiveness of the Philippines product in the global market. Its objective is to promote fair competition in the electricity market to lower cost and enhance efficiency. This aims to create a market where prices reflect actual cost and competition drives down rates. Transparency and public accountability help ensure that consumers are not exploited and that the market operates fairly. D. To enhance the inflow of private capital and broaden the ownership base of the power generation, transmission, and distribution sectors. Its objective is to attract private investment and diversify ownership in the energy sector. Encouraging private capital in the power sector can lead to improved infrastructures, innovation, and efficiency. A broader ownership base can also enhance competition and reduce monopolistic practices. E. To ensure fair and non-discriminatory treatment of public and private sector entities in the process of restructuring the electric power industry. Its objective is to ensure equitable treatment of all stakeholders in the restructuring of the electric power industry. This means that both public and private entities should be treated equally during industry changes, avoiding favoritism. It aims to create a level playing field that encourages healthy competition. F. To protect the public interest as it is affected by the rates and services of electric utilities and other providers of electric power. Its objective is to safeguard consumers' rights regarding electricity rates and services. This involves monitoring utilities to ensure they do not engage in unfair practices and that they provide adequate service. It ensures that the public welfare is prioritized in all energy policies. G. To assure socially and environmentally compatible energy sources and infrastructure. Its objective is to promote energy solutions that are suitable and socially responsible. This means considering the environmental impact of energy production and ensuring that projects benefit society as a whole. It encourages the adoption of eco-friendly technologies and practices. H. To promote the utilization of indigenous and new and renewable energy resources in power generation in order to reduce dependence on imported energy. Its objective is to promote energy solutions that are suitable and socially responsible. This means considering the environmental impact of energy production and ensuring that projects benefit society as a whole. It encourages the adoption of eco-friendly technologies and practices. I. To provide for an orderly and transparent privatization of the assets and liabilities of the National Power Corporation or NPC. Its objective is to manage the privatization process of the National Power Corporation's assets transparently. This entails creating a structured approach to selling of government assets in the electricity sector, ensuring that it is done fairly and transparently with consideration for public interest. I. To establish a strong and purely independent regulatory body and system to ensure consumer protection and enhance the competitive operation of the electric market. Its objective is to establish a regulatory framework to provide consumers and ensure market competitiveness. A robust regulatory body is needed to oversee the electricity market, enforce regulations, and protect consumers from unfair practices, ensuring that competition thrives and consumers are treated fairly. Lastly, under Section 2K, to encourage the efficient use of energy and other modalities of demand-side management. Its objective is to encourage practices that optimize energy consumption and reduce waste. This involves promoting energy efficiency programs and strategies that manage energy demand, such as smart grids and consumer incentives to reduce overall energy consumption and cost. Each of these points contribute to creating a balanced, efficient, and sustainable energy landscape that benefits both the economy and society at large. Next is definition of terms under Section 4. A. Aggregator. It refers to a person or entity engaged in consolidating electric power demand of end users in the contestable market for the purpose of purchasing and reselling electricity on a group basis. An entity consolidates the electricity demand of multiple users. Aggregators purchase electricity in bulk on behalf of end users, enabling them to benefit from lower rates that come from collective bargaining. This helps smaller users access competitive prices in the market. B. Ancillary services refer to those services that are necessary to support the transmission of capacity and energy from resources to loads while maintaining reliable operation of the transmission system in accordance with good utility practice and the grid code to be adopted in accordance with this act. Services supporting the transmission of energy and capacity. These services ensure the reliability and stability of the power grid. They include frequency regulation, voltage control, and reserve services which are crucial for maintaining a stable electricity supply. C. Captive market refers to electricity end users who do not have the choice of a supplier of electricity, as may be determined by the Energy Regulatory Commission or ERC in accordance with this act. It means that users who cannot choose their electricity supply. This segment includes consumers, often residential or small business, who are served by a designated utility and do not have the option to select an alternative supplier. The ERC determines who falls into this category. D. Central dispatch refers to the process of issuing direct instructions to electric power industry participants by the grid operator to achieve the economic operation and maintenance of quality, stability, reliability, and security of the transmission system. It means that the process of managing electricity generation and distribution, the grid operator sends instruction to power producers to optimize the operation of the electricity system, ensuring efficient energy distribution while maintaining system reliability. E. Cogeneration facility refers to a facility which produces electrical and/or mechanical energy, and forms of useful thermal energy such as heat or steam, which are used for industrial, commercial, heating, or cooling purposes through sequential use of energy. A facility that produces electricity and useful thermal energy simultaneously. Cogeneration maximizes energy efficiency by using waste heat from electricity generation for heating or cooling processes, benefiting industrial and commercial operations. F. Commission refers to the decision-making body of the ERC composed of a chairman and 4 members provided under Section 38 hereof. The governing body of the ERC, comprised of chairman and 4 members, this commission oversees the regulatory functions of the ERC, making decisions on policies and regulations in the electricity sector. G. Concession contract refers to the award by the government to a qualified private entity of responsibility for financing, operating, expanding, maintaining, and managing specific government-owned assets. An agreement granting a private entity operational control over government's assets. Through these contracts, the government can leverage private expertise and capital to manage and develop public resources effectively. H. Contestable market refers to the electricity end users who have a choice of a supplier of electricity as may be determined by the ERC in accordance with this Act. Users who can choose their electricity supplier. This market includes larger consumers who can select from multiple electricity suppliers, fostering competition and potentially lowering costs through market dynamics. I. Customer service charge refers to the component in the retail rate intended for the cost recovery of customer-related services, including but not related to meter reading, billing, administration, and collection. J. Demand-side management refers to measures undertaken by distribution utilities to encourage end users in the proper management of their load to achieve efficiency in the utilization of the fixed infrastructures in the system. Strategies to manage consumer electricity use. Utilities implement programs to encourage consumers to optimize their energy use, leading to more efficient system operational and reduced peak demand pressures. K. Department of Energy or DOE refers to the government agency created pursuant to Republic Act No. 7638, whose expanded functions are provided herein. The government agency responsible for electricity policy. The DOE formulates and implements national energy policies, ensuring a sustainable and secure energy supply while promoting energy efficiency and conservation. L. Department of Finance or DOF refers to the government agency created pursuant to Executive Order No. 127. The government agency overseeing financial policies and management. The DOF manages the government's financial resources, including those related to energy projects and regulations, ensuring fiscal responsibility in energy investments. M. Distribution Code refers to a compilation of rules and regulations governing electric utilities in the operation and maintenance of the distribution system, which includes, among others, the standards for service and performance, and defines and establishes the relationship of the distribution system with the facilities or installations of the parties connected therefore. A set of rules governing distribution utilities. This code establishes standards for operation and maintenance of distribution systems, ensuring the reliability, safety, and quality of service for consumers. N. Distribution of electricity refers to the conveyance of electric power by a distribution utility through its distribution system pursuant to the provisions of this Act. the delivery of this electricity through a utility system. This encompasses the entire process of conveying electrical power from the transmission network to end users, ensuring that electricity reaches home and businesses. O. Distribution system refers to the system of wires and associated facilities belonging to a franchise distribution utility extending between the delivery points on the transmission or subtransmission system or generator connection and the point of connection to the premises of the end users. The network of wires and facilities for electricity distribution. This system connects the high voltage transmission line to individual consumers, allowing for the safe delivery of electricity to various premises. B. Distribution wheeling charge refers to the cost or charge regulated by the ERC for the use of a distribution system and or the availment of related services. A regulated cost for using the distribution system. This charge compensates the utility for the use of distribution infrastructures and related services, ensuring the utility can maintain and operate its system effectively. Q. Distribution utility refers to any electric cooperative private corporation, government-owned utility or existing local government unit which has an exclusive franchise to operate a distribution system in accordance with this Act. This includes electric power cooperatives, private corporations, or government-owned utilities that operate under a franchise to provide electricity to consumers. R. Electric cooperative refers to a distribution utility organized pursuant to Presidential Decree No. 269, as amended or as otherwise provided in this Act. A distribution utility organized as a cooperative. Electric cooperatives are member-owned organizations providing electricity services, often in rural areas, promoting community involvement and equitable services. S. Electric power industry participants refers to any person or entity engaged in the generation, transmission, distribution, or supply of electricity. Any entity involved in the electricity sector. This broad term encompasses all players in the electricity market, including generators, distributors, and suppliers, contributing to overall energy consumptions. U. Energy Regulatory Board or ERB refers to the independent, quasi-judicial regulatory body created under Executive Order No. 172 as amended. The regulatory body established by executive order, the ERB oversees the energy sector, ensuring compliance with regulations and protecting consumer interests in electricity supply. W. Franchise area refers to a geographical area exclusively assigned or granted to a distribution utility for distribution of electricity. A specific geographical region for electricity distribution. This area is assigned to a distribution utility, granting it exclusive rights to operate and provide electricity services to that location. X. Generation company refers to any person or entity authorized by the ERC to operate facilities used in generation of electricity. An entity authorized to produce electricity. These companies operate power generation facilities supplying electricity to the market under regulations set by the ERC. Y. Generation of electricity refers to the production of electricity by a generation company or a cogeneration facility pursuant to the provisions of this Act. The process of producing electrical power. This encompasses all activities related to creating electricity, whether from traditional sources like fossil or renewable energy. Grid refers to the high voltage backbone system or interconnected transmission lines, substations, and related facilities. The high voltage system of interconnected transmission lines. The grid serves as the backbone of the electricity supply network, facilitating the transfer of electricity from producers to consumers across vast distances.
I'm Glorme O. Agosto, continuation sa report ni Shane Marilicardon, Republic Act Number 9136, Section 4. A. Grid Code refers to the set of rules and regulation governing the safe and reliable operation, maintenance, and development of the high-voltage backbone transmission system and its related facilities. A set of rules governing the operation, maintenance, and development of the transmission system. The Grid Code ensures the safe and reliable functioning of the high-voltage transmission infrastructure, detailing standards for equipments, operational procedures, and coordinating among stakeholders. B. Independent Power Producer or IPP refers to an existing power generating entity which is not owned by NPC. A power generating entity not owned by the National Power Corporation or NPC. IPPs contribute to the electricity supply by producing power independently, fostering competition and diversity in energy sources without government ownership. C. Interclass cross subsidy refers to an amount charged by distribution utilities to industrial and commercial end users as well as to other subsiding customer sectors in order to reduce electricity rates of other customer sectors such as the residential end users, hospital, and street lights. Charges applied to certain customer sectors to subsidize rates for others. This mechanism allows distribution utilities to charge industrial and commercial users higher rates using the revenue to lower electricity costs for residential users, hospital, and public service. D. Interregional grid cross subsidy refers to an amount embedded in the electricity rates of NPC charged to its customers located in a viable regional grid in order to reduce the electricity rates in a less viable regional grid. A charge included in electricity rates for customers in viable regional grids. This subsidy redistributes costs by charging customers in stronger grids to help lower rates in less viable regions, promoting equitable pricing across different areas. Intra-regional grid cross subsidy refers to an amount embedded in the electricity rates of NPC charged to distribution utilities and non-utilities with higher load factor and delivery voltage in order to reduce the electricity rates charged to distribution utilities with lower load factor or delivery voltage located in the same regional grid. Charges applied to higher load factor customers to support those with lower load factors within the same regional grid. This system helps balance costs among distribution utilities in the same region, ensuring that those with higher electricity demand contribute to reducing costs for those with lower demand. F. IPP Administrator refers to qualified independent entities appointed by PSALM Corporation who shall administer, conserve, and manage the contracted energy output of NPC IPP contracts. Independent entities managing the energy output from NPC's IPP contracts, appointed by the Power Secret Assets and Liabilities Management Corporation or SALM. These administrators ensure that contracted energy from IPPs efficiently managed and conserved. G. Isolated Distribution System refers to the backbone system of wires and associated facilities not directly connected to the national transmission system. A network not directly connected to the national transmission system This system operates independently, often serving remote areas where direct connection to the larger grid is impractical, ensuring localized energy access. Double H, lifetime rate, refers to the subsidized rate given to low-income captive market end users who cannot afford to pay at full cost. A subsidized electricity rate for low-income end users, this rate helps make electricity affordable for vulnerable populations who might struggle to pay full prices, ensuring access to essential energy services. Double I, National Electrification Administration or NEA, refers to the government agency created under Presidential Decree number 269 as amended and whose additional mandate is further set for herein. A government agency focused on promoting rural electrification. The NNE facilitates electricity access in underserved areas, implementing programs and policies to expand clarification efforts across the country. Double J, National Power Corporation or NPC, refers to the government corporation created under Republic Act number 6395 as amended. The government corporation responsible for generating and supplying electricity, established to manage the country's power resources. The NPC plays a key role in national electricity generation and policy implementation. Double K, National Transmission Corporation or TRANSCO, refers to the corporation organized pursuant to this act to acquire all the transmission assets of the NPC. A corporation established to acquire NPC's transmission assets, TRANSCO focuses on maintaining and operating the national transmission network, ensuring efficient electricity transport across regions. Double L, Open Access, refers to the system of allowing any qualified person the use of transmission or distribution system and associated facilities subject to the payment of transmission or distribution retail wheeling rates duly approved by the ERC. A system allowing qualified users to access transmission and distribution networks. Open access promotes competition by enabling various suppliers to utilize the infrastructure for delivering electricity subject to approved rates. Double M, Philippine Energy Plan or PEP, refers to the overall energy program formulated and updated yearly by the DOE and submitted to Congress pursuant to Republic Act number 7638. A comprehensive energy program developed by the DOE, the PEP outlines strategies for energy development, efficiency, and sustainability, regularly updated to address evolving energy needs. Double N, Power Development Program or PDP, refers to the indicative plan for managing electricity demand through energy-efficient programs and for the upgrading, expansion, rehabilitation, repair, and maintenance of power generation and transmission facilities. Formulated and updated yearly by the DOE in coordination with the generation, transmission, and distribution utility companies. A plan for electricity demand and improving infrastructure formulated by DOE, the PDP includes strategies for energy efficiency and upgrading power generation and transmission facilities. Double O, Power Sector Assets and Liabilities Management Corporation or SAN Corp, refers to the corporation created pursuant to Section 49 hereof. A corporation managing the assets and liabilities of the power sector. SALM oversees the privatization of NPC assets, and manage contracts and financial obligations, ensuring a smooth transition to a more market-oriented structure. Double P, privatization, refers to the sale, disposition, change and transfer of ownership and control assets and IPP contracts from the government or a government corporation to a private person or entity. The transfer of ownership and control of assets from the government to private entities, privatization aims to enhance efficiency and investment in the sector by involving private sector participation in energy production and distribution. Double Q, renewable energy resources, refers to energy resources that do not have an upper limit on the total quantity to be used. Such resources are renewable on a regular basis and the renewable rate is rapid enough to consider availability over an indefinite time. These include, among others, biomass, solar, wind, hydro, and ocean energy. Energy sources that are naturally replenished. This includes solar, wind, hydro, and biomass, which are sustainable and available over long periods, contributing to a cleaner energy mix. Double R, restructuring, refers the process of recognizing the electric power industry in order to introduce higher efficiency, greater innovation, and end-user choice. It shall be understood as covering a range of alternatives, enhancing exposure of the industry to competitive market forces. The process of recognizing the electricity industry, this aims to introduce competition and innovation, allowing consumers greater choice and improving overall industry efficiency. Double S, retail rate, refers to the total price paid by end users consisting of the charges for generation, transmission, and related ancillary services, distribution, supply, and other related charges for electric services. The total cost paid by end users for electricity, this includes charges for generation, transmission, distribution, and ancillary services, reflecting the complete pricing structure for electricity supply. Double T, Small Power Utilities Group or SPUG, refers to the functional unit of NPC created to pursue missionary electrification function. A unit of NPC focused on rural electrification. SPUG works to provide electricity services and in remote areas, often where larger utilities may not be economically viable. W. Stranded contract cost of NPC or distribution utility, refer to the excess of the contracted cost of electricity under eligible contracts over the actual selling price of the contracted energy output of such contracts in the market. Such contracts shall have been approved by the ERB as of December 31, 2000. The difference between contracted electricity costs and market selling prices, these costs represent financial losses for NPC or utilities from long-term contracts that exceed current market prices, impacting their economic viability. Double V, stranded debts of NPC, refers to any unpaid financial obligation of NPC which have not been liquidated by the proceeds from the sales and privatization of NPC assets. Unpaid financial obligation not covered by asset sales. These debts remains after the privatization of NPC assets, representing liabilities that the corporation must address despite selling its facilities. Double W. Subtransmission assets refer to the facilities related to the power delivery service below the transmission voltages and based on the functional assignment of assets including but not limited to step-down transformers used solely by load customers, associated substation, control and protective equipment, reactive compensation equipment to improve customer power factor, overhead lines and the land such facilities equipment are located. These include NPC assets linking the transmission system and the distribution system, which are neither classified as generation nor transmission. Facilities for power delivery below transmission voltages. These assets connect the transmission system to distribution networks, including transformers and associated equipment, essential for local electricity distribution. Double X, supplier, refers to any person or entity authorized by the ERC to sell, broker, market, or aggregate electricity to the end users. An entity authorized to sell electricity to end users. Suppliers can be independent companies or utilities that provide electricity services, facilitating competition in the market. Double Y, supplier's charge, refers to the charge imposed by electricity suppliers for the sale of electricity to end users, excluding the charges for generation, transmission, and distribution wheeling. Fees imposed by suppliers for selling electricity. This charge covers the costs associated with the supply of electricity, separate from generation, transmission, and distribution charges. Double Z, supply of electricity, means the sale of electricity by a party other than a generator or a distributor in the franchise area of a distribution utility using the wires of the distribution utility concerned. The sale of electricity by parties other than generators or distributors. This allows alternative entities to sell electricity within a utility's franchise area, promoting competition and consumer choice. AAA, transmission charge, refers to the regulated cost of charges for the use of a transmission system, which may include the availment of ancillary services. Regulated cost for using the transmission system. This charge covers the infrastructure and ancillary services needed for the transport of electricity over high voltage lines. Triple B, Transmission Development Plan or TDP, refers to the program for managing the transmission system through efficient planning for the expansion, upgrading, rehabilitation, repair and maintenance to be formulated by DOE and implemented by the Transco pursuant to this act. A program for planning the transmission system, expansion and maintenance, the TDP developed by the DOE and implemented by Transco ensures that the transmission network evolves to meet future energy demands. Triple C, Transmission of electricity, refers to the conveyance of electricity through the high voltage backbone system. The conveyance of electricity through the high voltage system. This involves the transport of electrical power from generation sites to distribution networks, essential for delivering energy to end users. Triple D, Universal Charge, refers to the charge, if any, imposed for the recovery of the stranded costs and the other purpose pursuant to Section 34 hereof. A charge for recovering stranded costs and other expenses. This charge is applied to consumers to help offset the financial impact of past investments or liabilities in the electricity sector, ensuring stability in the energy market.
Good day everyone, especially to you, sir. I am Christina Bucco and I am going to report the Chapter 2, which talk about organization and operation of the electric power industry. Section 5. The electric power industry shall be divided into 4 sectors, namely generation, transmission, distribution, and supply. The electric power industry is structured into four main sectors, each playing a critical role in the overall process of electricity delivery from generation to consumers. First is the generation. These sectors involve the production of electricity from various sources, such as coal, natural gas, nuclear, hydro, solar, and wind. Companies in this sector convert energy resources into electrical power. Example: a solar farm generates electricity by converting sunlight into power, which is then sold to the grid. Transmission. The transmission sector is responsible for transporting high voltage electricity from generation sites to substation. This involves a network of transmission lines and substations that ensures electricity is delivered efficiently over long distances. Example: high voltage transmission lines carry electricity from a coal-fired power plant located in a rural area to urban centers where demand is high. Distribution. Once electricity reaches substation, the distribution sector takes over. This sector lowers the voltage and delivers electricity directly to residential, commercial, and industrial users through local distribution lines. Example: a local utility company distributes electricity from a substation to homes in a neighborhood via lower voltage power lines. Supply. The supply sectors involves the sale of electricity to consumers. This can include both retail and wholesales, with companies acting as suppliers or aggregators of electricity. Example: a retail electricity provider offers various plans and rates for residential consumers, allowing them to choose the best option for their needs. Section 6. Generation sector. Generation of electric power, a business affected with public interest, shall be competitive and open. And this explains that the generation sectors of the electric power industry is designated to foster a competitive and open market for electricity generation, emphasizing regulatory compliance, safety, and environmental standards. Here are the key components of the generation sector. The first is competitive and open market. The generation of electricity is structured to allow multiple companies to participate, promoting competition. This is intended to lower prices and improve service for consumers. Examples for this is a new wind farm enters the market alongside existing coal and natural gas plants. The competition encourages all the generation companies to lower their prices to attract customers. Second is certificate of compliance. Before starting operation, new generation companies must obtain a certificate from the Energy Regulatory Commission, ensuring they meet established standards as well as health, safety, and environmental regulation. Examples: before a hydroelectric plant begins operation, it secures a certificate from the ERC, providing it adheres to environmental regulation such as maintaining river ecosystems. Third is not a public utility. Generation companies are not classified as public utilities, allowing them to operate without the need for a national franchise, thus simplifying entry into the market. Example: a startup solar energy company can begin generating and selling electricity without needing to apply for a public utility franchise, making it easier to enter the market. Fourth, retail competition and pricing. Once retail competition is in place, generation companies can set their own prices for electricity without ERC regulation. promoting market-driven pricing. Example, after retail competition is established, a biomass power plant can offer its electricity at a lower price than the traditional fossil fuels, directly appealing to energy retailers. Fifth, zero-rated VAT. To reduce costs for consumers, sales-generated electricity are exempt from value-added tax, or VAT, which helps in lowering end prices. Example, if a generation company sells power for $100, the absence of VAT allows them to offer that power at the same price to consumer, making it affordable. And lastly, the monitoring for market abuse. The ERC has the authority to assess market power and anti-competitive behavior by requiring financial statements from generation companies to ensure fair practices. Example, the ERC reviews the financial statement of a major generation company suspected of colluding with others to manipulate prices, ensuring companies' compliance with fair competition laws. Section 7. Transmission Sector. The transmission of electric power shall be regulated. Common electricity carries business, subject to the rate-making powers of the ERC. The ERC shall set the standards of the voltage transmission that shall distinguish the transmission from the transmission asset. The issuance of such new standard distinction between the transmission and subtransmission asset shall be follows: 230 kV and above in the Luzon grid, 69 kV and above in the Visayas in the isolated distribution system. It explains the transmission sector is crucial in the electric power industry, as it is responsible for transporting high voltage electricity from generation facilities to substation. So here are the breakdowns key points from section 7. First is the regulated business. The transmission of electric power is considered a regulated common carrier business. This means that transmission companies are subject to oversight and regulation from the Energy Commission, Regulatory Commission, which ensure fair pricing and reliable service. Second is the rate-making powers of the ERC. The ERC has the authority to set rates the transmission companies can charge for their services, ensuring that these rates are fair to consumers while allowing companies to recover their cost. Lastly is the voltage standard. The ERC sets the standards that define the voltage levels that distinguish between the transmission and subtransmission assets. First is the Luzon grid, 230 kV and above are classified as transmission. Visayas grid, 69 kV and above are classified as transmission, but lines directly connecting to distribution substation may be classified as subtransmission if they do not connect to the main grid. Mindanao grid, 138 kV and above are classified as transmission. Subtransmission asset. Lines that fall below the established voltage threshold below 69 kV in Visayas are classified as subtransmission. These lines typically serve to distribute power to local area rather than transporting it over long distance. Example: transmission in action. A transmission company operates a network of 230 kV lines in Luzon that carry electricity from a large coal power plant to several substations in metropolitan areas. The ERC regulates the rates that the company can charge distribution utilities for using these lines to transport electricity. Subtransmission scenario. In the Visayas, a 69 kV line runs directly from a generating plant to a local distribution utilities substation. Since this line is not part of the main transmission grid but connects directly to the distribution system, it is classified as a sub-transmission asset, and the utility pays a different rate for its use. Section 8. Creation of the National Transmission Company. There are hereby created a National Transmission Corporation, hereinafter referred to as Transco, which shall assume the electrical transmission function of the National Power Corporation, and have the power and function hereinafter granted. The Transco shall assume the authority and responsibility of NPC for the planning, construction, and centralized operation and maintenance of its high-voltage transmission facilities, including grid, interconnecting and ancillary service within 6 months from the effectivity of this Act. The transmission and subtransmission facilities of NPC and all over the assets related to transmission operation, including the nationwide franchise of NPC for the operation of the transmission system and the grid, shall be transferred to the Transco. So, Section 8 explains that this section details the establishment and operational framework of the National Transmission Corporation or Transco, which will take the over electrical transmission duties of the National Power Corporation. First is the creation and ownership. Transco is created to manage and operate high voltage transmission facilities, being fully owned by SamCorp. Second is the asset transfer. The NPC must transfer all related transmission assets to Transco within 6 months. Third is the sub-transmission management. Transco will temporarily manage sub-transmission assets until they sold to qualified distribution utilities. Fourth is the financial structures. Electric cooperatives can acquire subtransmission assets with long-term concessional financing, prioritizing payments from their income. Fifth is the dispute resolution. The Energy Regulatory Commission will settle any disagreement about asset valuation or operational issues. Sixth is the operational guarantees. The transition must not negatively impact service quality for end user, and utilities involved will need to form a consortium for joint operation. 7. Eminent domain. Transco can evoke eminent domain to acquire necessary property for its operation. And lastly is the access requirement. Before the transfer of function, NPC must provide an open access to its transmission system, ensuring fair access for all industry participants. Example: imagine a region where NPC has high voltage transmission lines. Under this framework, Transco would take over these lines and ensure they remain operational without affecting local service quality. If a local electric cooperative wants to manage nearby subtransmission lines, they can negotiate a long-term payment plan with Transco. If they disagree on the assets value, the ERC would step in to mediate. This structure ensures a smooth transition while maintaining a service standards and promoting fair access to transmission sources. So that's all for my report, and thank you.
Good day everyone, I am Kimberly F. Dingley, and today I will discuss to you the Section 9 Function and Responsibilities. This section outlines the function and responsibilities of the Transmission Corporation or Transco under the Philippine Electric Power Industry Reform Act. Upon the effectivity of this act, the Transco shall have the following function and responsibilities. First, act as the system operator of the nationwide electrical transmission and sub-transmission system to be transferred to it by the NPC. meaning the Transco is in charge of operating the entire electrical transmission and sub-transmission system across the country. This responsibility will be handed over by the National Power Corporation or the NPC. Provide open and non-discriminatory access to its transmission system to all electricity users. It means that the Transco must allow all electricity users, whether big or small, to use the transmission system without any discrimination. This means it must be fair to everyone. C. Ensure the reliability of the grid. It means that the Transco is responsible for making sure that the national electrical grid is reliable, secure, stable, and efficient. It must follow certain performance standards which will be laid out in a grid code by the Energy Regulatory Commission or ERC. The ERC must lay out a grid code by the Energy Regulatory Commission or ERC. The ERC must create and implement this grid code within 6 months from when this law takes effect. D. Improve and expand transmission facilities. So Transco needs to continuously improve and expand its transmission system to meet the needs of electricity generation companies, distribution utilities, and suppliers. These improvements must comply with the Grid Code and Transmission Development Plan or TPD. However, before any expansion or improvement happen, Transco must get approval from the ERC. E. Subject to technical constraints, the grid operator of the Transco shall provide central dispatch of all generation facilities connected directly or indirectly to the transmission system in accordance with the dispatch schedule submitted by the market operator, taking into account outstanding bilateral contracts. So, as a grid operator, Transco will manage the central dispatch of electricity from all generation facilities connected to the grid. This is based on the dispatch schedule provided by the market operator, which also considers existing contracts. F. Transco shall undertake the preparation of the TDP. This means that the Transco is responsible for preparing the TDP. In doing so, they must consult with all the major players in the electricity sector, like generation companies, distribution utilities, and end users. Once prepared, the TDP is submitted to the Department of Energy or the DOE for inclusion in the larger Power Development Program and the Philippine Energy Plan. This section's additional provisions is dedicated transmission facilities by generation companies. This means a generation company can build its own limited transmission lines to connect the national grid. However, these lines must only serve the generating facility itself, and the company needs approval from the ERC to do this. Ownership transfer of competitive purposes. If these dedicated transmission facilities become necessary for competitive purposes, the generation company must sell them to the Transco at a fair market price. If there is any disagreement of the price, the ERC will step in to determine fair market value. This breakdown explains how Transco operates at the backbone of the national electricity grid, ensuring reliability, fairness, and continuous improvement in the transmission network. This responsibility extends to managing who can connect to the grid and overseeing the dispatch of electricity generated nationwide. Section 31. retail, competition, and open access. Any law to the contrary notwithstanding retail competition and open access on distribution wires shall be implemented not later than 3 years upon effectivity of this act. Subject the following conditions. A. Establishment of the wholesale electricity spot market. This means that there must be a functional electricity spot market where electricity is bought and sold wholesale. B. Approval of unbundled transmission and distribution wheeling charges. This means that the transmission and distribution charges must be approved. This means that the various components of the electricity cost, generation, transmission, distribution, and etc. must be separated so consumers can see what they are paying for each. C. Initial implementation of the cross-subsidy removal scheme. So this means that there must be an initial implementation of a scheme to remove cross-subsidies. This refers to the practice of charging one group of consumers more in order to subsidize the cost of another group, like residential users paying more to subsidize commercial users. D. Privatization of at least 70% of the total capacity of generating assets of NPC in Luzon and Visayas. This means that at least 70% of the National Power Corporation or the NPC generating assets in Luzon and Visayas must be privatized. E. Transfer of the management and control of at least 70% of the total energy output of the power plants under the contract with NPC to the IPP administrators. This means that at least 70% of the energy output from power plants under the contract with the NPC must be transferred to the independent power producer or the IPP administrators. This gives private sectors players more control over electricity generation. So, upon the initial implementation of the open access, the ERC shall allow all electricity end users with a monthly average peak demand of at least 1 megawatt for the preceding 12 months to be contestable market. 2 years thereafter, the threshold level for the contestable market shall be reduced to 750 kilowatt. At this level, aggregators shall be allowed to supply electricity to end users whose aggregate demand within a contiguous area is at least 750 kilowatt. Subsequently, and every year thereafter, the ERC shall evaluate the performance of the market. On the basis of such evaluation, it shall gradually reduce threshold level until it reaches the household demand level in the case electric cooperatives. Retail, competition, and open access shall be implemented not earlier than 5 years upon the effectivity of this act. So, how it will work? Once these conditions are met, open access will begin. This means electricity consumers, starting with larger users, will have the option to choose where to buy their electricity from instead of being tied to a single utility provider. Threshold levels. First phase. 1 megawatt demand. Initially, electricity end users with a monthly average peak demand of at least 1 megawatt over the past 12 months will be considered part of the contestable market. This means they can choose their own electricity suppliers. The second phase, 750 kilowatt demand. 2 years later, this threshold will be lowered 750 kilowatt, allowing more users to participate during this phase, or aggregators will also be allowed to supply electricity as long as their combined demand is at least 750 kilowatt in single area. Third, gradual reduction. Every year, the Energy Regulatory Commission or ERC will assess the performance of open market. Based on their findings, they will gradually lower the threshold until it reaches the level of household consumers, allowing retail competition to eventually extend to homes. For areas served by electric cooperatives, retail competition and open access will be delayed until at least 5 years after the law takes effect. In summary, this section is all about introducing competition to the retail electric market. It starts with bigger consumers like industries and businesses, and gradually opens up to the smaller consumers, eventually reaching households. This gives consumers the power to choose their electricity suppliers, driving competition and hopefully lowering prices in the long run. Thank you.